In 18th century Europe, the greatest swordsman in France, the conductor of one of its finest orchestras, and a brilliant composer who helped shape an entirely new style of music, was a man born to an enslaved woman in the Caribbean. His name was Joseph Bologne, Chevalier de Saint-Georges. For a brief moment in history, he became one of the most extraordinary figures in Europe. Yet today, very few people know his name. Joseph Bologne was born in 1745 on the island of Guadeloupe, a French colony in the Caribbean. His mother, Nanon, was an enslaved African woman. His father, Georges de Bologne, was a wealthy French plantation owner. Joseph's birth placed him between two worlds. He was the son of privilege, but also the child of a system built on slavery. But his father made an unusual decision. He brought Joseph to France, determined to give him an education normally reserved for aristocrats. Young Joseph studied literature, mathematics, music, and most famously, fencing. His father enrolled him at the elite fencing academy, run by Nicolas Texier de la Boissière, one of the greatest fencing masters in Europe. Joseph quickly proved he was no ordinary student. He possessed speed, precision, and fearlessness. By his teenage years, he had become one of the most formidable fencers in France. In one legendary match, Joseph faced Alexandre Picard, a well-known adult fencing master. The audience expected the young student to be overwhelmed. Instead, Joseph defeated him. The victory shocked Paris. Almost overnight, word spread about the young swordsman of mixed heritage who could defeat seasoned professionals. Soon, Joseph Bologne was widely recognized as one of the greatest fencers in Europe. But fencing was only one part of his story, because while he was mastering the sword, he was also mastering music. Joseph became an extraordinary violinist. His playing was bold, elegant, and technically brilliant, and soon he began composing music of his own. At the time, Paris was the center of musical innovation in Europe. Audiences were hungry for new sounds and daring performances. Joseph Bologne helped deliver exactly that. He became one of the composers who helped develop and popularize the symphonie concertante, a powerful orchestral form that combined the drama of a symphony with the virtuosity of multiple solo instruments. These compositions electrified audiences. They allowed musicians to display dazzling technical skill while the orchestra surged around them. Paris loved it. Joseph soon became the first violinist of Le Concert des Amateurs, one of the most celebrated orchestras in Europe. Only 2 years later, he rose even higher. He became the director and conductor of the orchestra. Under Saint-Georges' leadership, the ensemble became one of the finest orchestras on the continent. Critics praised its precision and brilliance. Concert halls filled with eager audiences. Joseph Bologne, born to an enslaved woman in a distant colony, was now leading one of the most respected musical institutions in France. His reputation spread far beyond the concert hall. Visitors to Paris spoke about his extraordinary range of talent. Among those visitors was John Adams, the future President of the United States. After witnessing Saint-Georges' remarkable abilities as both athlete and musician, Adams described him as one of the most accomplished and talented individuals he had ever encountered. It was difficult to argue. Joseph Bologne seemed to excel at everything. He was a virtuoso violinist, a brilliant composer, a fearless duelist, a master marksman, and a celebrated athlete. His fame even reached the royal court. Queen Marie Antoinette admired his musical skill and welcomed performances within aristocratic circles. Saint-Georges moved easily among nobles, artists, and intellectuals, yet the world of Parisian music was constantly changing. In 1778, a young composer from Austria arrived in the city. His name was Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Mozart was younger than Saint-Georges and still trying to establish himself in Europe's musical capital. During his time in Paris, Mozart stayed in the same residence where Saint-Georges had previously lived and worked, a reminder of just how central Saint-Georges already was to the city's musical life. By the time Mozart arrived, Joseph Bologne was already a well-known composer, violin virtuoso, and conductor shaping the musical culture of Paris. But even extraordinary success could not fully overcome the prejudices of the era. In 1776, Saint-Georges had been nominated for one of the most powerful positions in French music, director of the Paris Opera. It would have been a historic appointment. But when the nomination became public, several leading performers refused to work under him. Their objection had nothing to do with his talent, it had everything to do with his race. They submitted a petition declaring that they would not perform under a man they described as a mulatto. Despite his brilliance and reputation, Joseph Bologne was denied the position. It was a painful reminder that even genius had limits in a society built on rigid hierarchy and prejudice. Yet Saint-Georges refused to disappear. He continued composing music, conducting orchestras, and performing across France. And when the French Revolution erupted, he once again reinvented himself. Joseph Bologne became a military officer. He commanded a regiment known as the Légion Saint-Georges, one of the first military units in Europe composed largely of soldiers of African descent. The man who had once dazzled Paris with his violin now led troops on the battlefield. Few figures in history possess such a range of talent: fencer, composer, conductor, soldier. Joseph Bologne's life defied every expectation placed upon him. Yet after his death in 1799, his story slowly faded from memory. His music was performed less frequently, his achievements were rarely taught, and for generations, one of the most extraordinary figures of the 18th century was nearly forgotten. Only recently have historians and musicians begun rediscovering his legacy. Today, Joseph Bologne is recognized as a pioneer, a man born in the shadow of slavery who rose to become one of the most remarkable talents of his time. His story reminds us that history is filled with extraordinary careers that were overlooked, ignored, or nearly erased. Sometimes all it takes to restore them is simply telling the story again.